most people that we come across, I'm like, oh my God, like they still stuck with like AI can summarize text or can help you write a query. But when they see what are the capabilities, especially as we mature agents and models as the beginning of 2026, you can start solving some complex incidents and do sometimes even better job than humans. I'm like the amount of like information and context you can bring in and information you can reason and process, it's just scary. And it scares me every day.
Hi folks, James here, and welcome to the Spiro Circle, this time in collaboration with Forbes Israel. Recently I spoke to Tom Findling, the CEO at Conifers. Conifers is a cybersecurity company that uses AI agents to help cybersecurity teams with their flags and ticketing systems. Basically, the concept is that cybersecurity teams are getting so many alerts warning them of so many potential issues that they literally cannot keep up. The humans are overworked and under pressure, and so AI agents are coming in to help alert them with what needs specific attention or not. It's an issue because he describes the rate of change in the last 2 years as somewhat of an AI realization. The technical and psychological changes that humans and technology have experienced, he says, is basically mind-boggling. So we spoke all a bit about how it changed, we spoke about the industry sector, and then we spoke a bit more about what the future holds. He describes these last 2 years of AI as simply the prologue for what's ahead. Now that's really exciting, but it's also quite scary. So I hope you enjoy our conversation, and I hope you learn something from it. Tom, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
I want to talk a bit about you folks, obviously, and what you do and the industry and some of the experience you've had there. But I want to start, please, by setting the scene, right? I want to best understand from you what you've seen in the last 2 years, because they haven't just been fast, they've been kind of disorientating.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen with the inclusion of AI and how every enterprise and every business and every consumer is embracing it. I want to understand from you, when you look back on the last 2 years, what are you seeing in terms of the rate of change and how that's impacted businesses and what you do?
No, it's a great question, James. And yeah, like the last 2 years have been great. I'm like, we've seen like, I think 20, 30 years of technological development condensed into like 2 years. And every day you wake up and there is something new and you need to evaluate whether or not it can help or disrupt what you're doing. But, when I take a step back and look like where we were, about 2 years ago when AI just started to bubble up as GPT 3.5 and we were exposed to the ability to summarize text and ask questions and get things answered and classify things in a better way than what we've had before. We all thought, oh my God, this is so big. And, we can definitely disrupt the entire world by, having those capabilities. And as you see, the progression became so significant that if I'm looking at 1 year after that, when agents got introduced, and now you're like, okay, you're not just summarizing text or, being able to do some basic classification. Now you can do what humans do and reason and think and derive conclusions. And that was amazing. And I think where we are today, where, kind of agents mature themselves to the point that they became enterprise grade. So it's not like a concept that you kind of bring on your computer and it's cannot perform in an enterprise and you see the potential but you can't do anything about it. I think we got to the point that agents got to like certain level of maturity when you can deploy them in the enterprise, you can monitor them, you can scale them, and the models themselves became extremely smart. So that combination between agents maturity and the models becoming extremely smart, I think unlocking finally like, and again, maybe we will look at it 2 years from now and like, wow, we were full saying that. But I think it's developed like opening like an opportunity for an unlimited possibilities for the enterprise to adopt so many AI technologies and actually have a full significant impact on the day-to-day operations. So while the last 2 years were a promo to what's going on, I think starting 26, you really see the maturity and both on the model side and the agent side to come and really disrupt the enterprise.
Wow, it's amazing to think that these last 2 years have been just a promo for what's to come. I can't imagine the. I can't imagine that. I mean, just to kind of say what you're saying, to reiterate what you're saying in layman's terms, I suppose I've been following the progress of Will Smith eating spaghetti. Right,
Yeah.
that's my visual understanding of how AI has been changing because you see it in a couple of years, and every few months he gets way and way better. But enough about my kind of trivial uses of enjoying AI from the meme aspect. I want to understand more from you guys and conifers and what you guys are doing. So correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but you're effectively a cybersecurity firm that helps SOC agents, so cybersecurity agents, these teams adopt these AI agents, as you said, to help with the amount of alerts that these teams are receiving when they are under attack. So the premise is basically that humans can no longer keep up with the sheer amount of attacks, and AI is being brought in to help with some of that. Is that a core message, or have I completely screwed that up?
You got it right. Over the last decades, organizations like generating more and more incidents, and there are more and more tools and more attack vectors. Roughly, the size of the security operation team stays the same, maybe grow up a little bit, but they're overwhelmed. They can't deal with what comes up, and on top of it, there is new areas of expertise that they need to develop all the time, and they just can't keep up. The CISO is buying more and more tools. Those tools generating more and more alerts. There are more and more attack vectors, and then they just get buried. I'm like they just can't do it and hope for the best. So we try to solve it with traditional automation, and it has been a decade for different tools trying to solve those problems. But because security operations and incident like investigation, it's so unique for a customer. Context is so important for the investigation itself that traditional automation just doesn't work. So we tried for the last decade to, solve that problem. Unfortunately, it didn't go that well. That's why, we still have business. And if you look at the security operations market, AI is disrupting it as we speak. And honestly, after my experience in Rapid7 and seeing how crucial that like role is within the security organization and how teams are keep struggling with trying to get this problem solved, and the development that I've seen on the AI side, that's really what's kind of intrigued me to just kind of leave everything that I'm doing and start a company, and disrupt the security operations team. So that's kind of, if with no AI, like I don't think that, we've been trying to solve it for a decade, multiple different efforts, and now I think we have a fair chance to solve that significant problems that we've had for the
I
last decade.
certainly hope so because you know what they say about cybersecurity, right? The bad guys are always going to be bad guys. They're always going to find a way to attack or penetrate these systems, and so you need the good guys to, at the very least, keep up with the bad guys, let alone outperform them, right? It's like a cat and mouse, but it's kind of like a mouse and cat because we have to, the good guys have to keep up with the bad guys. I want to touch on an idea that has we've kind of circled around it so far in our conversation, but it's the kind of realization of AI, right? It's this
Yeah.
AI realization era. We started off by saying right now that the last 2 years of change, just the last 2 years have seen change across all industries and sectors. And what you folks were highlighting was the change in the last decade or so, but really the effect it's having on the SOC teams, the security operation teams. This idea of AI realization, is this more of a technical realization or like a psychological realization? Like, talk me through like what you meant by that when you described it.
It's just crazy. I'm like, I think it's touching everything we have known so far. And, running an AI company and kind of being in the trenches on a daily basis, you really see that. So it's disrupting everything from the way you develop software. I'm like, you don't develop it the same way, you used to write code. Now AI is writing code for you. Now agents just communicate in natural language. So, code is still significant, but a lot of the core IP is pure English. And now you have sets of agents that communicate and collaborate and do fantastic things. The other thing is on the capabilities. Like, less than 2 years ago, we were talking about some sort of a chatbot that can summarize text. And now we're talking about agents that can solve the most like sophisticated cyber incidents that you see in the most complex enterprises on earth. And like the level of sophistication that you need to do it and do it right and do it well in large scale is just amazing. So you cannot just say, hey, I have something that works and I will start building on it. You really have to stay current with everything that is coming up and understand how that can impact your product journey, how it can impact your customers, and adopt it as soon as you can. You cannot say, hey, I'm running on that model and it's doing a relatively good job and stay with it because, past years on software development, it works. Don't touch it. Here, you have to touch it. There are new models. They're better. They're smarter. You have to try them. You can push it down. Like you can push the can down the road. You have to go and try it and evaluate it and adopt. Otherwise, you will become obsolete. So there is always the risk. Like in the past, you have a team. You have you know, some sort of a product, and you keep iterating and building on top of it. Now you disrupt your entire product and entire way you develop on a monthly basis with all of these cool things that are coming up, and you need to be adaptable and make sure that you can translate that value to your customers as soon as possible. Otherwise, yeah, the risk of becoming obsolete now, it's just crazy.
Yeah, you said something so interesting just now that the concept of kind of waiting until something needs to be done is already too late, because the idea of if it ain't broke, don't fix it is kind of inverted. What you're saying is if it ain't broke,
Yeah,
don't fix it. If you don't fix it, it will break.
yeah. Like if you don't if you don't stay current, you become obsolete. Like even for 2 quarters, I'm like, you haven't looked at the latest and greatest, like the new models, your product is already far behind. So you need to develop this adaptability. And as you said, it's also psychologically, it's hard for developers, it's hard for managers, it's hard for leaders. In the past, we wanted to piece of software or a model to get to some level of maturity before you try it, before you use it, right? There is a new shiny object out there. Hey, let it run for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months before we kind of touch it, let it stabilize. That's not the game today. If you are not hopping on it, maybe day one, as we've seen with Microsoft and other vendors, you have some performance issues, but assume they can find enough hardware to run those savvy models. You definitely need to hop on a train and see if it adds value or not, and try. And if it is, it can bump your value that you provide your customers like 10 times. And if not, the risk of others doing it before you and you staying behind is just crazy. So yeah, that's requires a new mindset, a new psychology, and different like people adapt themselves to this new reality, and it's hard. People don't like change, as you said.
People definitely do not like change. How? Let's double tap on that. So there are different people that like change and people that don't like change. Cybersecurity teams or enterprises or the people who are going to be most affected by this, whether it's the teams themselves or the management or the customers, even. What is their relationship like to change? Are you finding this an easy sell, or are you kind of pulling your hair out trying to tell people, like, because you mentioned it, you said AI is not just kind of text organization anymore, now it can actually do things. So talk me
Oh yeah.
through a bit about some of those things that AI can actually do that people may not know about, and talk me through the relationship that people are having when you are trying to tell them that. Like, are you screaming at a brick wall, or are you finding that people are receptive to that?
So it really depends. I'm like, I think because, as I said, our problems is like burning within so many organizations and they just can't keep up with what they have. They're more open to try new solutions because it's a burning issue. In some other areas, when the issue is not as significant, then you can delay change. Here, you just can't avoid it. The other thing is like, think about it. Adversaries started to use AI. So defenders are always behind. If adversaries like pick it up, and adversaries are behind, they will be far behind because AI unlock new possibilities that you've never seen before. And honestly, like, and I keep saying it to other people, I think there were a lot of inflated expectations about what AI can or cannot do. And one of the things that I find most valuable is like, connect your environment, see what AI can do in your environment, in your context. Because listen, it's really easy to fake. My 6 years old son can go and put up a prototype of AI security operations product, and he can do it on base 44 in 5 minutes. The real secret is how you make it consistently work in scale in different environments, and there is no other way to know other than trying it. So you have nothing to lose. It's very easy to hop on and give it a shot, and then very quickly you see if you like it or not. Most people that we come across, I'm like, oh my god, like they still stuck with like AI can summarize text or can help you write a query, but when they see what are the capabilities, especially as we mature agents and models at the beginning of 2026, you can start solving some complex incidents and do sometimes even better job than humans. I'm like the amount of like information and context you can bring in and information you can reason and process, it's just scary, and it scares me every day. I'm living through that process and change, and every time that I see there's like leaps that are happening on like once a month, once every other month, I'm getting surprised and amazed by myself. So
Well, Tom, we don't want you to be scared. We want you to help us not be scared,
oh, I'm
right?
not scared. I'm just amazed, like what the
Right.
technology can bring. In my wildest dream, if you would interview me 2 years ago, I would not be able to tell you that AI would be able to do what we are doing today. And that's why I said, let's look at this interview 2 years from now and figure out how fools we were at this point, compare what technology can
But,
bring in 2 years from
yeah,
now.
we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll set our calendars 2 years from now, and we'll do this again, and we'll see how wrong we are now. But I want to stay on something that you said, which is that we never really know what AI can or can't do. That's a really scary thought, not just in terms of people using it to attack people, but also the people building the things that should be utilized or there for protection. Like it's a scary
Yeah.
thought that even the people building these things don't even know. So are we royal we, not me and you, but like we, a society, are we building AI, or are we discovering it? Like at what stage is it becoming its own thing that we kind of have to learn what it's capable of doing or not doing?
Ye- and that's what I keep telling people. Like AI, it's a living thing, and every model has its own life, the way you interact with him, the quality that it responds on a certain, subject that you would like to touch into. And that's something which is really, really interesting. So there is no better way. And, right now in our team, more than 50% of the time, it's on exploratory mode. You just have an issue and you try to push AI to the boundary to see what AI can do. And then you have to test it in large scale, in large data sets. And obviously, as you switch between models and technologies, you need to see that you do not regress. So, by the way, 50% of the experiments that we do, we throw away. We said, okay, it's not good enough for it, or this doesn't work, or it can't do it. But the other, 10, 20, 40, 50% depends on which domain you are focusing on. Those things are revolutionary. And the way you find to work with a specific model that can produce certain artifacts and certain quality, it's different from another models. So it's literally it's almost like working with a person. Like when you hire a person, you're like, you interview him, he tells you all the stuff you want to hear for the most part. Then you hire him, then you start understanding what he's good at, what he's not good at, what you need to supplement. Sometimes you need to let him go. Sometimes it's performing like a superstar. So we need to start looking at agents like the way we do with people. And also in terms of learning, like now agents having intelligence and learning capabilities. They have memories, they have brain. So it's not like what you get out of the box from the model. It's like how I come to your environment, how I learn it, how I listen to your feedback, I ingest that and apply it in future incidents that I see, or for future conclusions or reasoning or dealing with specific entities in your environment. All of this information, like when human will start making the shift from the fact that they're dealing with not dealing with software anymore that have a very deterministic like kind of behavior, and they're dealing with more of like a human like machine. I think that will help you to better understand and unlock the value that you see with AI.
Wow. That's a big statement because you already have people becoming quite close with their chatbots, right? I mean, you hear the story. I mean, I'm talking kind of on an individual consumer level. I'm not talking on an enterprise level, but you have people already forming relationships with these chatbots,
Oh yeah. By the way,
and then soon there'll be voice applied to it, and then soon there'll be a face or a video that can be that can represent something.
yeah,
That's a conversation probably for another episode.
it's not. It is, but also when you start to see, like sometimes we see the interaction, people are polite to say. They say thank you to the bot. They say, "Hey, it was thank you for investigating it. It was a good investigation. Next time, I would like you to do this and that." It's starting to feel and more like a human interaction rather than interacting with software. And by the way, our chatbot is also very polite. Thank you too. Thank you for your time, telling you what it did back. So it's a very interesting level of interaction. It's more like it's becoming more of a human to human interaction than a human to a machine interaction. If you treat it that way, you would be able to unlock it. Obviously, you need to put some boundaries. As you said before, like people have some really interesting things going on between them and their
Yeah.
chatbot. But on the professional side, you just need to look at it as yet another analyst on your team. And what do you do when you bring in a new analyst? Like, do you need to teach him about your environment? Do you need to tell him what he can or cannot do? What level of knowledge he has? You test it on the first week of the job. And once you evaluate it like that, it's great. When you tell him something to do, a feedback, does it imply like implement that for future incidents? And once you start seeing it, it's amazing. So once you break this mental block and can do it, sky's the limit, and it's keep getting better and better.
Whose mental block needs to break in your instance, in your context? Is it the team? Is it the human teams themselves, or is it the maybe folks who are tasked with kind of purchasing you and adopting you into their cycles? Is
Oh,
it
yeah.
management that needs convincing? Like where are those roadblocks,
I
mental
think
blocks?
it's all around, all over the place. I'm like, you've
Right.
just mentioned it, and I can tell if people asking me, "Hey Tom, when you do a pilot, so like what takes most of the time?" And people think like setting up the environment or just get the AI to work, which usually now takes hours, if not less than that. And the biggest obstacle nowadays, it's legal teams. They have no idea what to do with it. Like before you work with a big enterprise, before they can give you the keys to their car so you can start riding it around, you have to cross what we call it, the legal barrier. And it's getting better and better. But over the last 2 years, we're getting across like some clueless legal teams that are like, we don't like it, we don't know what it can do, and our hunch always telling us we don't want to do that. So, especially when you work in Europe and when you have like some more regulated markets like finance or healthcare or some states like California and New York, sometimes it took a little bit more time for the legal teams to digest it. And some of it did it better than others. And of course, leadership. Like you see some organizations that all the way from the top to the bottom, there is like, hey guys, we have a dedicated budget for AI. Everywhere AI can disrupt our business in any segment, we want you guys to go and use it and utilize that. And there are ones that said, hey, we will still be on like old school for the next 2 or 3 years, see where it takes us, and then when it's all mature and ready, we will pick it up. I think they are also in certain industries on a risk to become obsolete because like
Mm.
others will have such a big competitive advantage that at
Wow.
the end, if you not adapt quickly, you might lose your business. So interesting.
I've heard that before. I've heard of conflicts between the security teams and the finance teams, right? Because it's
Oh yeah.
the tension there. And I was actually having a conversation similar to this on another episode, and we were talking about that conflict. And I said, and don't even get me started. I can't imagine the difficulty of including legal. And the guy was like, "Oh my god, don't even get me started on the legal team." So it's funny you even mentioned it because the idea that I'm certainly getting from speaking to all of these different founders and in all of these different sectors is just how cross-departmental cybersecurity is becoming. It's not just a
Oh yeah.
security department. It's now a finance department. It's now a legal department. It's now, there are all of these different areas. And to be honest, different people with different experience and different knowledge and wisdom and instincts that have to kind of work together to see how something like this can mesh cross department. It sounds like it's like you said, like in the 2 years of change, there's just been not just technological change, but kind of organizational change.
Yeah. And I think, as I said, we're lucky because a lot of the individuals or the companies, enterprises that we're working with, like nobody likes to say it, but they have no choice. Like they currently crashing and burning. They can't hire fast enough. Their people are not good enough, and that's just a given because there are not enough good cybersecurity talent worldwide. Like if you open an analyst position, you will get 5,000 people apply within 5 minutes. How many of them can actually get the job done? Probably less than 1%. And think
Wow.
about yourself as a whatever mid enterprise somewhere in Louisiana in the United States. What's your chances to bring top tier like security talent to work for you? And then you find yourself getting breached. You find yourself having some problems. Um, Getting not being able to deal with all the load of like incidents that you have to deal with. So I think some sort, as a business in our space, we're lucky because the problem is significant enough that leaders will help us to go through all of those obstacles, just to kind of relieve that pain, and the outcome of it sometimes worth the risk, given the fact that we do everything in a governed, compliant way, which is very important, data location, transmission, all the interaction, and, kind of everybody's asking me that all the time, but nobody's using anybody's data to train models anymore. There are better ways to adjust models to your organization and make it to develop memory, which is relevant just for you. But yeah, that's overall thing. It's very significant. And when you see the benefit that AI can bring you on the very like certain disciplines that it can provide real significant measurable value, then it really helps you to get around and convince other people that sometimes a little bit more pessimistic, or they just uh, try to avoid change as much as they can to get through with this initiative, and get it going. And we've seen that all over the place. And, we've seen it on banks and insurance companies, and we've seen that on telcos and some heavy regulated industries that usually would not go for something like this that fast. But I think with the level of advantage and the capabilities that you provide them, not doing that is like worse than staying where they are right now. So
I want to take this opportunity to really dive into you guys and better understand where you are today. So you've raised about $25 million to develop the platform. Investors include Sign
that's right.
Ventures, and Picos Capital, and you've also secured strategic investment from Washington Harbor Partners to expand into government cybersecurity missions. Is that all? Is that all correct?
Yep. Yep.
So talk us through exactly what that means and where you folks are operating, and maybe some of your customers or your clients, and where you folks are deploying this, please.
Yeah. So, as I said, this is everybody's problem. So the
Mm.
market is huge. Our main focus right now, it's, the US, and we also have customers in Europe, and a little bit on Asia Pac as well. And the main, like, two groups that we are focusing on is first enterprises that are running their own in-house stock and kind of having that problem day in and day out. So they need that to be able to kind of unclogged that issue that they have with their stock and do a better job and protect their organization better. And also another segment of customers that we really like to serve, those are service providers. A lot of organizations, just because the lack of expertise, they outsource that function to a service provider. And honestly, those service providers they're dealing with the same problems that the in-house SOC teams are dealing with. They have lack of expertise. They have hard time to hire good people. They have too many alerts from weird domains that they now need to deal with because somebody decided to onboard a new tool. Um, and we're also working with them to be able to provide them all of those benefits and allow them to scale and keep quality high, and just ingest all of those great AI capabilities. So if I'm looking at it, primarily here in the US, and also a little bit of international business, um, medium large enterprises, like that running their own SOC, and also service providers, that kind of serving the rest of the market. Those are kind of our primary focus groups.
Okay, wonderful. Wow, thank you. I want to now take it. We described. I want to take it to the next level, so to speak, because we described the first 2 years as the prologue to what's to come,
Yeah.
which is an incredibly exciting but also incredibly daunting description, which I think is either way going to evoke a lot of reaction and it's going to be a lot of fun, whatever happens. I want to now dive more into that. So I want to see 2 years from now. Now I don't know if that means we're going to an epilogue or if that means we're settling right into our story. I don't know where the metaphor goes in terms of 2 years from now. But tell me a bit about what you think all of this is going to look like in 2 years, given the rate of change that we've seen already in the last 2 years. How do you just anticipate it going?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think we reach some sort of, nirvana with what we call security AGI. So we will have models and agents that will be able to come across any incident, any alert, look at behavior, understand it's suspicious across all different disciplines that you find in cybersecurity. And then that will enable the good guys and the bad guys utilize those kind of functionalities that will come up. And the way I see that is like, group of bad agents fighting a group of good agents. I think finally the good guys have a chance to find the bad guys because up until today, like even today, it's unfair. The bad guys have to be right once, the good guys have to be right all the times. So it's not a fair game. But with the scale and capabilities that AI brings into the loop and the level of sophistication, I really believe that defenders will have the opportunity to actually defend well against adversaries. And I see group of AI agents fighting AI agents, but also the attack vectors are changing. Like think about, some attack vectors that we have had for the last, 20 years, like phishing. If you have
Mhm.
agents that are that good to understand phishing, let's put a phishing email, right? Like that look at the sentiment and look at the intent and look at the link or look at the sender, look at everything. And basically everything phishing just removed from your mailbox. So you will not even, get like it will not even cross your mind to just click on a suspicious link or like give your information to somebody. Is phishing will stay an attack vector? Are we going to start retiring attack vectors because AI will be able to exhaust them, and our bad AI agents are going to develop new attack vectors that we have never seen before? All that is like crazy. But if you look at, the last 20 years, attack vectors stayed pretty much the same. Techniques have changed. I wonder if new
Mhm.
attack vectors will come in, or you can exhaust things like brute force and phishing, and other different types of techniques that you see today that will just stop working with defenders' capability to defend against those attacks. We'll get to the point that adversaries will not find them valuable anymore.
But
So,
yeah, there's also a fun tension in the change in how you attack versus the human behavior, right? So like you said, like the phishing attack, like is that an antiquated attack? Because I personally don't know many people that click on a link from a text of a number they don't know, or or an email, or not many people are actually sending money overseas to a prince who needs a heart transplant, or whatever it was, a few years ago. So there's as you were saying, the attacks are like the concept is staying the same, but the strategies are changing because humans are changing. And one of the scary things that I thought of was the deep fake technology on phone calls.
oh yeah,
But we're raising a generation of people under the age of, let's say, 25, who aren't even answering phone calls to their friends, let alone unsolicited numbers that they don't
oh yeah.
know. So the hackers can spend all this time developing this technology, but at the end of the day, if someone's not picking up the phone, so they also have to combat changing human behavior as well as technical behavior. That's kind of a bit of an aside. I just thought, because I just thought what you said was very interesting.
Yeah. And
Um,
you're up to something. You said like, humans right now in a lot of cases are the weakest part of the chain, right? They're the one that are doing mistakes. And I think in the future, maybe bad agents will try to find vulnerabilities in good agents. Like, they will try to see how an agent will you can fool an agent with phishing, or how you can fool an agent with brute force. Like you will start finding more weaknesses on the agents rather than in the humans. So the agents may or may not start becoming the weakest part of the machine. Like It's just crazy.
Wow. Well, I look forward to asking you that in 2 years' time when we're reunited on a future episode of the show. For now, Tom, I'm really sorry. We do have to close it. We've come to the end of our time and the end of our points. We're ending on a very ideologically open-ended question and contemplation. So I find that super interesting because I really hope that we can dive a bit deeper into this on a later date. I do want to end, though, as I often do, with a quickfire round, which is where I ask you questions and I
Please.
want you to answer them as quickly as possible in as few words as possible. So it's kind of short answers, first instinct kind of
Let's do
thing.
it.
Okay. So is AI overhyped or underhyped right now?
Overhyped.
What's more dangerous, over trusting AI or underusing it?
Underusing it.
In 2 years, is there more stability or more chaos?
More stability.
I'll hold you to that in 2 years.
I mark my calendar already.
What have you changed your mind about most about AI in the last 2 years?
Capabilities and rate of development.
Well, if you had to pause the rate of progress for 5 years, would you?
No, absolutely.
Would you trust AI to make a critical decision on your company today?
Yes. I'm trusting it already.
Touche. Final question, Tom. Last question before I let you go. What is the best way for those who are watching or listening to this episode to follow you, get in touch with you, keep up to date with all of the things that you're up to?
I only do think I'm always available on all the different channels, LinkedIn, email, or whatever it is. But my only tip for everybody else out there is that get your hands dirty. And there is nothing like feeling and seeing the technologies with your own eyes. Me as a CEO, I do it every day. It's like you can't compare it to anything else that you've seen or learned so far.
Wow. Wonderful. Great, great final message. Thank you. I'll be sure to put any links to anything, any websites, any contact information, anything that you want people to remain in touch with and keep up to date with. For now, Tom, thank you so much for your time and insights. And you're right, it has been an extraordinary 2 years of AI realization, whether that's technically or psychologically. And I certainly look forward to following the next couple of years and beyond. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, James. Thank you for having me.